What's up YouTube, Crystal here, and I've got another collection video for you. Not just vinyl this time, I've got some CDs and a DVD in here as well. I was going to bunch this together with another artist, but it was going to be way too long, and since this is such a fascinating group here, I thought I'd just dedicate the whole video to them. If you are not familiar with Faxed Head, and you are into lo-fi, indie, noise, avant-garde, metal, or any combination of those, you must check out Faxed Head. They are a very special band that unfortunately is long since, I don't know if I should say broken up, but they have not released original music in a very, very long time, which makes me think that they're probably not going to anytime soon. I have almost everything they've ever done with the exception of one album, but I'll kind of get there in a minute. So my history of them is kind of cool. It takes me back to high school, towards the end of it to be fair, but my friend who had a pretty similar taste in music as me lent me their CD. This one actually, not this CD itself, but this album, Chiropractic, and I listened to it and I was like, wow, this is a lot to take in. This is pretty outrageous stuff. The only tracks I liked on it were actually the first two, Restaurant Cleaning and Demon's Chills, which even today are still my favorite tracks on this album, even though I can appreciate the album a lot more today. So the whole shtick with Faxed Head is that they are friends from high school, Coalinga, California, and they tried to commit suicide and it failed. So they all have kind of a representation of what they are based on their suicide for the most part. So there's Patrick Head here, who is the lead singer, and he sits in a wheelchair and has really long arms and his whole body is covered in flannel or plaid. His name is actually Gregg Turkington, who you may not know, but you may be more familiar with Neil Hamburger, who is another alias of Gregg Turkington. Now, other than Neil Hamburger, Faxed Head is probably the most famous, what would you say, persona of Mr. Turkington, but he has had numerous bands from the San Francisco area. This one's probably his most famous of the bands, but definitely he is much more well known for Neil Hamburger, who is absolutely hilarious. You must check him out. Trey from Mr. Bungle is also, at least was one of the founding members. I don't know if he was still in this album. This is their last original recording as far as I know, and only their second album. They only released 2 original albums, like full-length albums, neither of them ever on vinyl. Their other record, Exhumed at Birth, only on CD, maybe on cassette, I'm not really sure, but it was definitely never released on vinyl. This actually you can get quite cheap, mail order, $10 or so, which isn't bad considering it hasn't been in print for a long time, and it is a pretty obscure record label, Web of Mimicry. But Exhumed at Birth, unfortunately, is quite expensive and hard to find, at least. No, I do have only their 3rd CD that they made. This is called Uncomfortable But Free. This is basically a compilation of their 7 inches, which I have right here, with a few unreleased tracks on it. This is pretty cool. I like this because I picked it up for virtually nothing about 12 years ago, and today it's so hard to find. I honestly haven't listened to this for a really long time, but I do remember enjoying it. I do have their DVD. I believe this is still easily, readily available, I should say. I got mine on Amazon not too long ago for a very reasonable price. What's kind of cool about this, there's actually a connection I have to this. A friend of mine actually worked at one of the clubs that Faxed Head played in their, I think, 2001 or 2002 tour, and that footage is on this video as a an Easter egg, I believe, or like a hidden track. He had a very bizarre interaction with Faxed Head behind or backstage at the show. Maybe I'll tell the story another time because it was very weird. And I believe him. I believe that it happened. Okay. Everything else Faxed Head have ever done has been on vinyl, 7-inch vinyl. No 12 inches, no LPs on vinyl, nothing. Just a whole bunch of EPs, singles, splits. This one here is basically just 2 tracks that are repeated on the A and B side. This is Show Pride in Coalinga and the Colors of Coalinga. And what's kind of cool about this is that the actual album, or you know, the sleeve or whatever, is simply just a sticker on a standard 7-inch plastic vinyl sleeve. I mean vinyl as in like the material of the sleeve itself. So it has Coalinga, California, a little map of it, and like what appears to be like an atlas entry or something like that for it. And the actual record itself, all of their 7 inches come on what appears to be black, but if you can see, which I'm sure you can't, this is actually translucent. They're all a little bit differently colored as well. This is kind of like red, like really dark blood red when you hold it up to the light. And pretty much all of their 7 inches, not all, but almost all of them come with like Xeroxed inner sleeves. This is lyrics sheet, and this is actually kind of cool. This is the high school that they supposedly went to. School? Oh, Chamber of Commerce. I always thought it was meant to be like their high school, because they are considered high school friends in their backstory. But anyways, this is like a letter from their local Chamber of Commerce talking about Faxed Head and stuff, which I just love. I love that about the indie scene, especially the early 90s indie scene, when a lot of the stuff was DIY because it was just so much cheaper and easier, whereas everything now is mass-produced and it's usually just a record in a sleeve with a jacket, and that's kind of it. The Tire EP, this is kind of a blackish gray vinyl when you hold it up to the light, with a little like Michelin Man kind of guy there. And he also appears on what they call a button, which, I don't know, maybe it kind of irons onto something. It's basically just a plastic laminated piece of paper. And lyrics, yeah, lyric sheet there. There's the album art. I can never pronounce this. I always have to look at it. Necrogeometry EP. Kind of pretty weird, dark art there, but this is a good record. All of this and pretty much all of these are all on Uncomfortable But Free. And this has kind of blackish gray vinyl. And the inserts are, we got a couple, 2 here. Oh, it's like mail order. Mail order insert, it appears, and another mail order insert. Okay, this seems to be all Faxed Head stuff, and this is Amarillo Records stuff. This one, I believe, is the only Faxed Head album that doesn't come with inserts, although maybe it was just mine. This is Heavy Metal Cookie Cutter and The Four Freshmen. This is from Japan, though, so it's a little bit different than the Amarillo pressings, but it is still colored. Cookie Cutters, and then for freshmen, I would assume. What's kind of cool about this one, even though there are no inserts, at least with mine, just have lyrics in English and Japanese, which is kind of cool. And this one, this is the only track that I know of that was released, at least, you know, en masse, that did not appear on Uncomfortable But Free. This is a split 7-inch Faxed Head Bone Cracks with breathalyzer, who turned out to be kind of crappy, but you know, I needed it to complete my Faxed Head collection. This does come with an insert, but it is just a mail order insert, nothing too interesting. And this vinyl is on blackish gray as well. But this one definitely the highlight of my Faxed Head collection. This is their first record, the Faxed Head EP. And I believe this is from 92, 91, or 92 it says. So this has been around for a while. Again, everything's Xeroxed. That's more of a brown, dark brown pressing. Now, what's kind of cool about this record, well, let me show the insert first, actually. I believe it's a lyric sheet. Yeah, lyric sheet. And this is really cool. This is another thing I love about getting older records, is you find things like this. This is actually a letter that appears to be written by the owner of the record shop in San Francisco that initially sold this record way back in 1992, because he talks about, or she, or whoever it is, talks about this being the new record, recent record coming out now with Gregg Turkington, Grux, who was in Carolina, that Gregg Turkington was also in, and Trey from Mr. Bungle, and yeah, it's just kind of like a little thank you note that was probably just stuck in the 7-inch, and it even, I don't know what the heck that is, the Foreskin 500 mustache ride, I don't know. Sounds interesting, but I do always enjoy that. Kind of cool when you find little things like that inside records that are directly connected to the record itself, of course. Anyway, there you go. Faxed Head, what a great band. Very interesting, absolute must for you know, indie avant-garde music fans for sure. Got lots and lots more videos to come, so please stay tuned for them. Anyway, I'll see you around soon.